it's tighter, it's fine. So we identify the first entity and attribute. Okay, so let's see the example. This is an example of the entity and their attribute. In this case, it's a car attribute. How many key attribute? 2 key attribute. Especially the registration is a composite key attribute. It can be a state and number. Okay, state and number, composite key attribute. Color is multi-valued one. Later we will see why. Color, we need to identify the multi-valued one. Okay, so actually this one can be identified from the searcher by investigating the data. Your customer will provide this kind of the report. From this report, you should be able to identify the entity and their attribute. So it's not like the described car has this one. No, in real life, the design you should be able to identify the entity and the attribute. Okay, so in the company database, we identify the 4 attributes like this one. There are 4 entity type and their attribute. It's more details than the mine, but basically it's the same thing. For example, name. If you need the composite, it can be like this one. Also, in case of works one, at this time it is what? Attribute. But later it will be the relationship, especially many-to-many relationship like this. Okay, this one does not have key attribute. Only partial key, that is the dependent name. Like this one. So next step is identify the relationship type. It's the same procedure as what you have done in the entity type. So we can identify that this one. This is basically the output of ER modeling of the company database. Okay, this one. It's a dot over. It's not the circled one, it's a dot over. Then number of employees. This is called derived attribute. There's one more attribute. Derived attribute. Derived attribute means actually it is not the attribute of the department. Okay? It's not mentioned here, but when you analyze your application functional analysis, a lot of time there are transactions to access how many employees for each department. Actually, how can you get the number of employees for each department? You can count from the employee, right? How many of them? Whenever they need, you need to count. It takes a time. Instead, number of employees are not changing every time, right? It's not like the transaction. It's not like the balance change or the customer change. So once in a while, every week, HR hire the new employee. So it's once a week. So because of that, we can actually calculate the number of the employee and create the attribute of the department for better performance. So this is called derived attribute. Actually, derived attribute is not given. It's not in your report. It's not in your the customer the suggestion or the customer information. But you can find such a derived attribute from functional analysis. Then we can use the dot, the over to represent that. Any other that we missed? Location, double. This is the multi-valued one, and this is a dot. Okay, so which means a partial, and double diamond, double relationship means it's identifying relationship for weak entity. Weak entity is this one, and also supervisor and supervisor. If you want to make sure, so you can specify which side is a supervisor, which side is a supervising. So feel free to add the more information to your ER diagram, okay, for better understanding.
Professor?
Yes.
is it also acceptable to have the number of employees attached to works for relationship the same way we did hours for work on relationship?
So her question is, can we put the attribute of this one works for?
Yeah, the same way we did the hours for the relationship works on.
Let's go back to this one. So works for is Lee works for HR. Okay? How many employees? It's just one. It's the employee by department. It's not group of the employee. So we cannot put the number of employee to the works for. Okay? Works for is for each employee which department you work. For example, if we have the information about something type of employee, hourly, part-time or full-time, at that time it can be this. Okay? However, this is the number of employees for each department. Number of employees for each department. So if we put the number of employees here, doesn't make sense. Okay? Any other questions? Then, this one, start date and hours, because she asked such an attribute of the relationship. When do we have such an attribute of the relationship?
Well, it's not used for all the entity type. It's not common, or it's not.
It's not common, but when? Actually, only when many-to-many relationship. Because this side is many employee works on the many projects. So we cannot put the hours to here, hours to here. So we need to put hours over here. However, what about the manager? Manager has a start date. Actually, this is a one-to-one mapping, one-to-one. Start date can be either employee or department. Actually, start date. So this side or this side. But for better understanding, we put the start date in the relationship. Actually, attribute of the relationship only when many-to-many. So that's very important. Later you will see why many-to-many and their attributes are very important. So we will see later. Okay? So this is the output of our first year, the diagram. Okay. Then we already talked about it's not easy first time to identify the one-to-one, one-to-many, many-to-one, many-to-many. So many-to-many and one-to-one is straightforward. One-to-many. In my case, I always many employees works for the one department, many-to-one, or many employees works on many projects, many-to-many, and many depend on the employee. Like this. If you keep that in mind, it's easy. But there are different notation. Like one of the students already asked, there are something 4 or 5. We will see later. But this is one of the popular notation. Okay. So one more thing. Here, the name of the attribute, name of entity, name of the relationship. What if I'm using E instead of employee? What if D instead of dependent? Yes, it's okay, but nobody can understand. So please try to do your best to represent the meaning, semantic of the entity, semantic of relationship, semantic of the attribute. Okay, I have seen. So when I worked for the company as a database administrator, from time to time I was invited to the small company who has the database, but there is no administrator. So when I check their database, sometimes table name is like the T1, T2, T3, T4. E1, E2, E3, E4. Column name, attribute name is C1, C2, C3, C4. Really, you probably, when you practice, when you test, you create such a or the program. You are very lazy to type all the class name C1, C2, C3. So please make the name of the such a entity relationship. So by showing the semantic meaning of it, try to do your best. Okay. And I will introduce a little bit more for the naming. Naming is also very important thing in the database. We have the 5 more minutes. So recursive is actually the physically one entity type, but it's logically two. So employee, supervisor, employee. Okay. So this is the example of the recursive of them. Okay, and also full. It may be slightly different from the what I have been mostly saying, especially for the participant. Most of the case, participant, which means the mandatory or optional, are not clear. Okay, whether sometimes there is no data, that doesn't mean it's not required, it's not mandatory, it's not optional. Okay. It can be mandatory, but without data, we don't see any evidence. So at that time, try to do your best for educated the guest. Okay, so common sense sometimes to decide whether this is a full participation or partial. Okay. For example, this time why? Supervision is the option on both sides. CEO does not have supervisor because it's the top of the HR tree. So it's optional. And also, the terminal employee, the new employee, may not have a supervisor. So it's because of that, it's optional, and so on. And also we have seen the weak entity. Sometimes you may not see the weak entity in real life project. That doesn't mean it's not. Instead, we create always strong entity. Like the ID, something ID, something ID. In your project, intentionally create at least one weak entity. Okay. So this is and this is ours. Ours is the attribute of this one. And we had the cardinality 1 to 1, 1 to many, and many to many. Okay. Then this is the another notation from this. In the company, so you realize that when you see the HR regulation, each department should have at least 4 employees. That is your requirement. Is there any way to represent minimum employees? No, there's no way. It shows only many to many, many to one. Also, optional or mandatory. It's a full or partial. So to address such a problem, sometimes you have very detailed constraint, condition, requirement. So to address that problem, there is another notation which is called min-max notation. This you cannot see it. If you are smart, you can see that this one min-max. It's a min-max notation. You can see it. What is he saying? Min-max. So min-max relationship. Instead of the many to one, one to many, we can show what is the minimum participation, what is the maximum. Okay. For example, manager, how many for each employee, how many managed department? She's not manager, so 0. I'm the manager, 1. Minimum 0, maximum 1. Okay. On the other hand, for each department, how many manager? Minimum 1, maximum 1. So we can use the minimum and maximum. That is called the min-max notation. For example, this one. So manage minimum 0 department to manage. Okay. Maximum how many department? Manager manage 1 department. From the department point of view, how many manager employee? Minimum 1, maximum 1. So in this case, the works for. So employee, how many department can you work?
One.
One. Minimum one, maximum one. For the department side, if you have the 4 minimum, you can change it. This one is a 4. And maximum, n means no limitation. If you have the limitation like the 1,000, you can put the 1,000 and so on. So using min-max notation, do we need to use a double line or a single line?
No.
No, we don't have to. So 0 means optional.
One.
Otherwise, it's the, so we don't have to use the double line. Instead, we can show. So for example, this one, 0, n means how many supervising? How many supervisors? Sometimes 0. There are entry level employees. How many? Sometimes n. Okay. And this one, supervisor. From the supervisor point of view, how many supervisor? Sometimes no. CEO does not have a supervisor. And the other, 1. So it's a 0 or 1, and so on. In this case, a 4n means minimum 4 department, and so on. However, in case of a weak entity, we still keep the double line and double identifying relationship to show this is the weak entity. Okay? So then we can understand the min-max notation also. However, min-max notation are not very popular in real life system, real life project. Okay? So we can use we are using this notation. However, this is not standard. If you join the, it depends on project manager. Project manager decide to use you can use the UML, like this one. It's the same thing as the previous one. Okay? It depends on the preference of your project manager. Okay? So sometimes more details, sometimes very simple, and also dependent on your modeling tool. So when you have the 4 or 5 entities, okay, you can erase and draw again, or you can use a visual. But in real life, when you have the 1,000, 2,000, the entity, no way to manage. So at the time, you can use such a tool. There are many tools. Among them, we are going to use the Irwin software. Even the Visio can be used. Okay? So it's up to you. In your project, you can use the Visio, but do not use the handwriting. Okay? In your project. So Irwin software is one of the most popular modeling tool. It's not only just a modeling tool, it's a project management. So you will realize that. But in our class, we will use the Irwin software as a modeling tool. Okay? We will see a little bit more the ternary relationship and so on next class. So we have a homework by the January 30, that is the Monday, 8 p.m. Select. You can use the internet source. You can use the textbook. You can use any other source. Find not very simple, not very complicated, the project description. Okay? Then draw the ER diagram. For example, this is the example of the last semester. If you go to the canvas, if you go to find this one, this is last year, the homework. You can do the same thing, but not in the project. Come on, yes. So for example, this is a requirement, what kind of database is this? So one of the database, then make the solution by yourself, if possible. Then there's another one, this is the sample ER modeling for the what? So purchase order application. So you can make your own, it's up to you, but not the same as this submission. So you can use it for your reference. Then, because we do not have enough time to see the many different cases, so if you select the one, the modeling, then we will have the 20-something. So later you can use for your reference. Also, I can use one or two of them for midterm exam. So if you are lucky, if your diagram, ER diagram is selected, not always, but you may have higher. So your homework is find any, not too detailed, more than 1 page. Okay, only less than, equal or less than 1 page requirement, and their ER diagram. Okay, so then submit to the Canvas. Then I'm going to compile all of this. If the top 5 to 10, depending on the quality, I will give even the extra point. So please do your work by the January 30, the 8 p.m. Then we can share your submission in the next class. Okay. Any question? Not in this. So thank you and see you next week.